Calories burned doesn't equal fat lost. Do you ever check your fitness tracker, your Apple Watch, your Oura Ring, or even the numbers on the cardio machines and go, yep, I just burnt 500 calories in that workout. Fat has disappeared off my body. Sorry, that's not how fat loss works. If you want to actually burn fat and not just calories, here's what you need to do. Your body uses your three main sources of fuel, protein, carbs, and fat, depending on the situation that you're in. There are different energy systems that your body needs to use depending whether you're going for maximal all-out effort or whether you're at the opposite end of the spectrum and trying to do something at a much lower intensity for a longer period of time. Your training session that you've just tracked sits somewhere along that spectrum. So for example, if you're at the low intensity end of the exercise spectrum, which can be walking, easy cardio, yes, there's more fat oxidation. You're using fat for the fuel. If you're at this end of the spectrum where it's higher intensity, HIIT style training with weights, some sort of sprinting, then we're using more glycogen or your stored carbs as the fuel. This doesn't mean one is better for fat loss. Just because you're using fat as the main source of fuel here and you're using carbs as the main source of fuel here, doesn't mean that this one isn't burning any body fat at all. It's about your overall energy balance. You can burn a ton of calories and still not lose any body fat whatsoever. Fat loss comes from a sustained calorie deficit over time, not just what you're doing in the space of one 30 to 60 minute workout. Just as a quick side note, because I know some of you believe this, sweating at the end of a gym session doesn't mean that you've torched a load of body fat. You can try and burn 1,000 calories in a workout if you want to. If you're then going to go and overeat by 1,000 calories, you're eating more than you burn, you're not going to lose body fat. The big myth that we need to talk about, that there's a fat burning zone. This is the idea that low intensity cardio is better for fat loss than anything else. And like I've already said, during those lower intensity, longer duration efforts, you may be utilizing more body fat as the main source of fuel, but that doesn't equal more body fat gone from your body. Total calorie burn across the day, the week, and the month is what's going to lead to a lower number on the scale over time. Fat burning zone should be renamed to the fat utilization zone, because it just means you're using fat as the fuel. It doesn't mean there's less fat on your body afterwards. Strength training in the long term helps you get more fat off your body. You may not burn as many calories during a workout with weights, but that is not the point. There's a lot of talk about that it boosts your metabolism for longer afterwards. The idea that you've trained with weights, the recovery process utilizes more fuel over a longer period of time, so you're burning calories at a higher rate for 48 to 72 hours after a weight-based workout than you are after doing, say, a run, even though you may have utilized more fat as fuel during that run. But here's where I feel that's a little bit misguided and not really the thing you should be aiming for. In terms of that afterburn effect, or EPOC, which I'm going to talk about in a second, it's not actually as big as many people think it is. We're not talking about thousands of extra calories burnt after a weight-based workout. The reason you should be training with weights and it can help you burn more fat in the long term is you're going to have more muscle on your frame. If you have more muscle on your frame, your metabolism, your metabolic rate increases because it now takes more fuel to maintain that muscle. You may have increased your body weight slightly or your lean muscle mass slightly, which takes more fuel, which means you're burning more calories on a daily basis, which keeps fat off in the long term. Sorry, I keep looking out the window. There's a courthouse opposite me and they keep delivering prisoners and it's amazing to watch. I try and guess what their crimes have been. That one is guilty for murder. What it boils down to is nutrition is the main driver for your fat loss, not your workout. You shouldn't be trying to exercise body fat off your body. You've probably heard the phrase, you can't out-train a bad diet, and to an extent that's true, but that one's guilty for taking pictures in a locker room. I see you. But you can't out-train excessive amounts of body fat on your frame either. Fat loss comes from a consistent calorie deficit. I know that sounds boring as hell when you're here looking for hacks and all sorts of stuff, but it's the truth. You can burn X amount of calories in the gym and look the exact same for years. You'll see this in exercise classes a lot. Here's how we actually burn body fat effectively. We focus on progressive strength training. This means over the course of your training period, you are lifting more weight or you're lifting the same weight for more reps, more sets, etc. You need to be active daily. An easy way to track this is by getting 10,000 steps a day. If you could do more than 10,000 steps a day, fantastic. If you are time poor and all you can do is 7,000, it's all good. Anything under 7, you are limiting the amount of body fat you can burn over time. You need to be more active than that. If you're struggling to find that time in the day, chuck me a comment, send me a DM, depending on what platform you're watching this on. I can show you how the most time-poor clients I've ever had have still managed to get 7,000 to 10,000 steps in as their average for the week. Keep protein high. This will preserve the amount of muscle that you've got in your frame whilst you're dieting. You're trying to lose body fat, so you need to decrease your calories, the amount of food that you're eating. It means you're also going to get slightly less nutrients and slightly less fuel in your body. This is okay. If you go so stupidly aggressive that you've got no energy for anything whatsoever, then you've done it wrong and you need to talk to me. Stick to a moderate calorie deficit, especially if you're just starting out. Most of my clients who are complete beginners to this don't track calories to begin with. They need to know what an actual serving size looks like, what a healthy meal looks like, what a balanced diet across the space of a week looks like, before we dive too deep into the numbers. Some people dive in head first and they do amazing, and that's cool, but that's not for everyone. An extreme calorie deficit, if you're a beginner, you've not got the habits in place. You've not managed a relationship with hunger. You've not got all the junk out of your house. You've not told the office feeder to fuck off. Maybe a bit too much to begin with. A moderate calorie deficit is the one you can sustain for slightly longer over time. It increases the chance of you getting the result that you're looking for. But that doesn't mean that an extreme deficit isn't correct for some people. But chances are you're not that person. Sleep and stress management are underrated and under talked about when it comes to dieting, but they directly impact the amount of fat that you're burning and the choices that you're making with your diet. If you have a poor night's sleep, you are likely to overeat your calories the next day by 400. Here's a little bit of science for you. This is the bit that may make your eyes glaze over, so feel free to skip it. These intensity zones I've spoke about are not just about how much sweat's pouring off your body or how heavy you're breathing or how red in the face you are. The intensity is measured as a percentage of your maximum heart rate. Anything in this fat burning zone is classed as 60 to 65% of your maximum heart rate. This is maintainable over a decent amount of time. It's not an all-out effort whatsoever, but it's certainly not just walking and easy cardio. Around 50 to 70% of your calories burnt come from fat. At 85 to 90%, now we're in that sprint high intensity HIIT training zone. The one where you are going to be sweating and panting and red in the face and you can't keep this up for very long. Some of you, that's your bedroom activity. Only 20 to 30% of your calories there come from fat. In terms of overall calories, you're potentially burning 2 to 3 times more in the same amount of time. But let's take a 45-minute brisk walk as an example. Yes, you may burn more fat as the main source of fuel in that 45 minutes. Overall in that 45 minutes, you're probably burning 300 calories. Now let's take a 45-minute weight training session. Okay, now we're burning less fat as fuel, we're using more glycogen, we're using more carbs, but you could burn 400 to 500 in that workout. Now, as we've already discussed, what is more important? Overall calorie burn or the percentage of calories from fat? Overall calorie burn. Adding that up over a week, walking every day for 45 minutes to an hour, which is a great thing that you should be doing anyway for reasons beyond fat burn, could burn around 1800 calories per week. That's pretty flipping cool. A combination of lifting, maybe HIIT training, maybe short 20-minute cardio efforts at the end of your session 4 or 5 times a week. You could be burning an extra 2,000 to 2,500 calories per week. Which one is more important for fat loss? Well, really, neither of them. I would be walking for just overall daily activity, for mental health, for cardiovascular health, and I'd be weight training for mental health again, and to put more muscle on your frame and to build some strength and increase your bone density. Fat loss can come from your nutrition. As I've touched on already, there's this afterburn effect, or EPOC, which stands for excess post-oxygen consumption. The amount of oxygen your body uses after exercise to return to its normal state. The body uses this oxygen to repair cells, to balance your hormones, replenish your energy stores, get a better EPOC effect by training with weights, big compound movements, especially training your legs. There's a bigger EPOC effect after that. But in terms of the amount of extra calories you burn in, you're probably only increasing the amount of calories you burn on a daily basis by 6 to 15%. Seems hardly worth it, right? But I'd like to remind you that you're not exercising to burn calories. You're exercising for a whole host of other reasons that are way more important than trying to burn an extra 6 to 15% calories every day. But it all adds up over time and it's all part of the bigger picture. The fitness industry loves talking about the fat burning zone, and you'll see this on cardio machines. It's because it's an easy sell. You can sweat without suffering because it's not all out maximal sprints. And it's an easy way to sell a tech gadget with a fat burning zone, and you can get gamification where it ticks that you were in that zone today for X amount of time and you've burnt X amount of calories. Joe, well done. But it doesn't really matter. All I ever want to do is give you the truth. And here's the hardcore truth. Your body doesn't give a fuck about what fuel it burns during the session, whether it's protein, carbs, or fat. It only cares about how many calories you've burnt by the time your head hits the pillow at night, and doing that on a consistent basis over a week, a month, 3 months, 6 months. Fat loss is your goal. Your body's like your bank account. It doesn't matter whether you've paid in cash, card, crypto. All that matters is the amount of money in your account by the end of the day, by the end of the week. A little reminder, here's what you do. Strength train 3-4 times a week. Walk 8 to 10,000 steps per day. Eat in a small calorie deficit, especially if you are a beginner, and then sleep like a baby, but not a naughty baby, a good baby that actually sleeps. Any questions about this, then comment them down below. If you want to know more about other topics, then that helps me film more videos for this channel. If you want to know more about how I can help you personally, then make sure you read the caption.